Welcome to the Shrink Wrap Show. I'm Pam Hernandez-Kaufman.
And I'm Talia Peak. We're two shrinks bringing you holistic health hacks.
With our 30 years of combined experience in therapy, we share helpful information about common issues that everyone faces.
Then we break down powerful, proven tools you can start using right away to better your life and your relationships.
Let's wrap.
Welcome back to the Shrink Wrap Show. Today we're going to talk about shame.
This is a hard one.
Yeah.
I personally do not like this topic. I don't like shame.
It's very vulnerable.
It's a hard one. You know, when we just think about the word and how misused it is and how it can really get embedded in someone's psyche. Think about this. Shame on you.
Oh.
You should be ashamed of yourself for doing that. I feel shamed.
Yeah.
It is such a powerfully strong, stuck feeling. Mm-hmm. Shame is the belief that I'm bad, that there's fundamentally something flawed in me, and that it causes us to want to hide.
Yeah.
It causes us to feel like we are naked when we're not, and to not want to show up. Mm-hmm. It is kind of an internalized sense of I'm just not worthy. I'm not good enough. There's something bad about me. We know that research says that it tends to become present or kind of to get fed when important people in our lives, early caregivers and such, demean us, ridicule us, ignore us, don't attend to our needs, don't value our feelings, and make us feel maybe like we're a burden or like we weren't wanted. I had a client say to me yesterday, no, my parents outright said, we didn't want you. Or how about people who say, yeah, my parents prayed for a boy and I'm a girl.
Right.
And I can't change that. I can't fix that. Well, I guess you can these days.
Now.
However, so this thing gets activated and sort of internalized when significant people wound us.
Yeah.
So shame is the result of a very deep trauma wound that happens typically early in childhood. And so it can be about offense, neglect, abandonment, rejection, any of those kinds of things, but it keeps a person stuck.
Yeah.
It makes a person not want to show up,
Right.
Feel like they're not worthy. And it's a low self-worth. And it activates the stress response because shame puts a person in a feeling of fear. And we've talked about the stress response before, the fear response, where my limbic system gets activated because I don't feel safe. Shame causes the same thing to happen as pain or actual danger.
Right.
And so I'm in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode whenever I feel shame. Brene Brown says the cure for shame is actually vulnerability.
Right.
However, the interesting part about vulnerability, it comes from the root word vulnerare, which is to wound. And so this is the rub about life. People hurt us.
Yeah. Hurt people.
And we need people to heal as well.
Absolutely. Connection heals.
So this is the hard part. I got hurt. I feel shame. I don't want to connect with people.
Yeah.
And yet I need people to get healed.
Yeah.
And so that's the really difficult part about shame. It's a feeling of it shocks the brain.
Right.
It shocks the brain, and the brain doesn't know how to process shame because we originally were designed to not feel it at all. We were created to feel welcome, wanted, valued, important, significant, and certainly good about ourselves as being created in the image of God.
Right.
And so some of the things we see with shame, right, in the therapy room, in life, we can feel it ourselves, are this anxiety about disapproval.
Right.
It's not going to be good enough. I'm not going to audition for the part. I'm not going to interview for the job. I'm not going to go to that church. I got hurt at the last one. All of those kinds of things. They won't like me. I anticipate rejection when I feel shame. I also do not want to disappoint others. And so I may often show up as codependent. I'm just going to say, yes, 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 I'll do, hoping the shame will go away.
Right.
Or the size of the wound of the shame will at least become a little bit fofo. Have you ever heard that word?
Fofo? I've not heard that one.
Fofo is such a good word. It really is that tiny balloon that used to be big that you find under the sofa 3 weeks after the party.
Uh-huh.
And it's fofo.
It's like squishy?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that word in English?
I don't know.
Okay.
Deflated?
It's deflated. It's just mushy now.
Okay.
All right. So that's what we want to happen
Uh-huh.
with working through shame feelings to get it to
Deflate.
If you disapprove of me, if I don't meet your needs, that might feel disappointing.
Yeah.
But it's not that ginormous size
Right.
helium balloon
Yeah.
inside me.
Right.
I certainly might have a fear of intimacy. I don't want to get close to you because if you see something in me that I already know is sort of that I've made up is there,
Right.
then you won't like me.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to be rejected.
Right.
So I'm going to hide.
That kind of goes into the insecure attachment styles of,
Insecure. Oh,
you know,
completely.
being totally avoidant and not wanting to be in a relationship with someone,
Exactly.
or even in the other anxious attachment
Absolutely.
style of I need you all the time.
Absolutely.
in order for me to
Or that
to
push-pull.
live. Yeah.
That push-pull we feel. Now, another thing we see with shame is risk-taking behavior
Oh, yeah.
increases. So one of the things that's very common, so my partner cheats on me. I feel shame.
Yeah.
I just lost out to someone else. And so oftentimes what I'll do is try to compete with that. And so I might engage in some kind of risk-taking behavior that I normally would not ever think of because I feel like all I want to do is lose the feeling of shame.
Right,
That it was
right.
because I wasn't good enough. And what we know about that, and we'll talk about infidelity and affairs and affair recovery at a later time in another podcast, but it isn't about me.
Yeah.
It's about the other person. Yeah.
Yep.
Codependency, for sure. We mentioned that'll show up. Feeling unworthy, unacceptable, and all of those kinds of things. If you experience shame in your family of origin, there's help. There's
Yeah.
hope. You developed a way of being in the world that you needed to cope.
Yeah.
And so what we want to give you as a helpful hack for dealing with shame is, first of all, talk to a therapist. Talk to a pastor, read some books. There are some great books on shame. We're going to give you 4 of them right now. Probably the quintessential work on shame would be by John Bradshaw, who coined the term inner child healing. And that book is Healing the Shame That Binds You.
Yeah.
And again, you hear that stuckness in that word binds you,
Yeah.
right? I'm not even showing up. Released from Shame is a Christian look at shame by Sandra Wilson. And we like to recommend that book as well. Brene Brown's book, I Thought It Was Just Me, again,
Yeah.
in looking at vulnerability and in being the cure for shame. And then The Soul of Shame by Dr. Kurt Thompson. Anything by Dr. Kurt Thompson is a winner. He's brilliant. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Also, we want to remind you, depersonalize.
Yes. Yeah.
It isn't you.
It's not about you.
You're not bad. What happened to you was bad. The
Right.
messaging you got was bad. The feeling that you took in as an introject was bad. You're not bad. You're
Exactly.
good. And so don't allow yourself to go to that place where I anticipate rejection. I won't be accepted. I begin to think differently about yourself and recognize that, you know what? Oftentimes it's the other person. It's not about you at all. So remind yourself over and over, begin to repeat, I'm a good person. I don't need to sit in a place of shame. I'm not staying there.
Right.
And when we hear those words out there in the world, we need to stop that person when we hear shame on you.
Right.
You
Yep.
should be ashamed of yourself. Ooh, we don't want to put that on anybody.
They're heavy.
Not on our watch.
Yeah, for sure. And to the point of talking about shame and connection with people, a healthy connection and a healthy way of relating with other people, it takes a lot of time for you to connect with a person that is safe. And so it may take you a couple years to really be able to pull off that shame mask with a healthy person
such a good point.
That's
Such a
not
good point.
throwing shame on you. So
Such a good point.
building those healthy relationships, healthy boundary setting, assertive communication, the back and forth, communication, hearing the other person, empathy, sympathy is different than empathy.
Yep.
But
Feeling with versus feeling
Right.
sorry for.
active listening with a person. All of those techniques that are crucial for healthy relationships also heals that shame.
That is so, so important. And, you made me think of another thing that's really important to say right now, and that is one of the tendencies that we might have when we're feeling shame is because it feels so uncomfortable. Like I just want to lose me. I want to
Right.
get out of my skin and be someone or somewhere else. Is I can have a tendency to want to bring other people into that
Yes.
place.
Yeah.
And that just it creates a gossip issue.
Right.
And triangulation. I've got other people involved, and maybe I'm looking for someone to side with me.
Right.
And if I can just wait it out, depersonalize, work on this core wound that it likely came from, and maybe do some of these readings,
Right.
I can work through it myself.
Yeah.
And so, we don't want anybody to sit in a place of shame. We weren't
Yeah.
created to be ashamed. And so, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. We'll see you next time on the Shrink Wrap Show.
We're so glad you joined us today on the Shrink Wrap Show.
If you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, remember to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and share the show with people you care about.
Also, your feedback is valuable, so leave a comment, question, or suggestion, and we'll see you next time
On the Shrink Wrap Show.